Recording in progress. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. So this is another soul level teaching. I think it's important that we learn about our soul and the things that happen during the seasons of transformation. So let's title this a soul level teaching for anyone who's in transformation. And sometimes you can feel transformation more readily than other times. At this time, I feel a massive transformation going on. So let's begin here. You are in a season of sovereignty. If you understand what sovereignty is, even Queen Elizabeth was called sovereign, and it's a level of connection with God. They called her the throne one with God, or as God. You know, she was doing the things that God would call her to. So this is not a season where you wait for someone to choose you. This is a season where your soul is pushing you back onto the throne of your own power. So during your journey in life, we come into the karmic aspect of making changes, like the negative karma, because we got negative and positive. And so the soul is pushing us from the time we enter into this world to recognize choices, even when we're children. So we are babies, then we are children being led by our families, but our soul has been required of something that we chose before we came into the earth plane to do. And this is what this is about. So whatever karmic lessons you have, that will be for your purpose. Your purpose can be intertwined, but your purpose is going to show up where your karmic negative assignment has been fulfilled. You've passed the test. You've passed school. So the season where your soul is pushing you back onto the throne, can you visualize that? Your life doesn't begin with people validating you. Even Napoleon Hill talked about that. I mean, maybe I can remember to put his video on that in this message, but he says people are not really empowered if they're celebrated. They're empowered by isolation and celebrating themselves. So if you're in this point where your life expands when you stand in your own authority, you graduated or you're coming into graduation. Your own authority means that you recognize your empowerment, that you are a king or a queen. You're able to self-command. Your energy is no longer available for draining connections, which means that at home, your work, your family, your community, anything that's draining you is not connected to your sovereignty and your journey of purpose, because the journey of purpose does not drain. There's a level of self-fulfillment and my cup overfloweth. So if your cup cannot get full by the people that you interact with, then there's some draining going on. You've outgrown people. This is what it will say when you're being drained. You've outgrown people who only know how to take from you. People have to learn how to get their cup filled, right? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. It's a cup filling scripture, the whole 23rd Psalms. Jesus' teaching, by the way, and anyone else's that's been a master, that is a teacher, master teachers from the time of antiquity that we may study, are all pointing to self-mastery. So that means that we're not following people. We can have gurus and individuals who mentor us, but the fulfillment of a path has to do with how we look to God for our help, our strength, and guidance. That is a practice, because most of us have been in the world and we're looking for people to lead us, but this becomes disheartening because people were never meant to per se lead us. We can go to church and be led. We can follow the politicians to a certain point, but the most important thing is learning how to spiritually trust your own navigation that is given through your soul, because your soul has the assignment. No one else knows that. Okay. So you've outgrown people who only knew how to take from you. From this point forward, the universe will not allow half-hearted efforts, inconsistent love, emotionally unavailable energies, work efforts that are not balanced, that leave you, imbalanced, people who want the benefits without responsibility. And that's going to be all through your life, whatever, family, work, love, marriage, even your children. You teach them how to be responsible for themselves because their soul requires this. The next thing we want to look at is receiving channels are opening. Your receiving channels are opening. You've spent years pouring into others. Now spirit is opening pathways for you to be poured into. And so how does that look? How does that feel for you? If someone has been pouring into others often or to the point where they are needing to be filled, they can become angry, bitter. They can have all of those characteristics of Galatians 5 and 19. The thing is to actually understand what you are feeling when you are giving to others. And if you feel good about giving to others, that's a wonderful thing. But the thing is not being imbalanced in giving. Make sure that there's receiving coming back. Old energies, when you are fulfilling your contract and moving on into the soul level, old energies may come in circling back, because they know that they can distract you, or let's say that the invisible realm will send them back for your distraction. So you keep your mind focused on where you're going. And how do you get the focus? You understand that when you start reaching certain levels, you fulfill that level as if you were going to school. The other thing is that as you fulfill that level, energies will come back to try to dissuade you, to pull you back. So this could be old energies again. People who were intimidated may finally step forward. Your aura, it will feel stronger as you're moving forward. And so distractions will come. Am I saying that people from the past will not be changed, or that they will be there just to pull you back? That's not always the truth. So your discernment has to be used, okay? These things that happen when you're becoming stronger and you're evolving, is for you to discern and say, okay, what choice do I make? Am I able to help this person see that we didn't have a balanced friendship when we were friends prior? And if you can, then you can mend, fences. And because people change, we all change. So we're not going to be judgmental and say, oh, that's never going to work again. What's not going to work is us having a unlimited or a mind of limitation. I believe that we all can change. If I can change, then I believe that you and I and others can change. But there's things that we've learned on the path up until now that tell us that, okay, these people are not ready, or this person is not ready for you. You can't give your love over here because there's still red flags. You have to identify. You can't just hope and wish that people are changing so they can be a part of your life. You got to be honest with yourself, or you can go through some of the trauma and torment that possibly you went through in the past. All right. So preparation, not punishment. Isolation is part of our preparation. These are parts of soul level work. And as we are growing, isolation can be for 10 to 6 years. It depends on your soul contract. Your isolation is for you to be able to contact and hear God, because when you're in isolation, the voices, they begin to diminish from others that have been in your life. The voices begin to diminish. Why? Because you're not in the place of hearing anybody but your own self. And so then you get to understand your own voice, or really know your voice, right? And this is something that people have a hard time. Where is the inner voice, and who is the inner voice that I hear? Sometimes you hear your inner voice saying things that others have said to you, and it's because you've been listening outside externally. So isolation helps us to come inside and internally understand our own voice. All right, the voice of the Spirit of God within us as well. So this is part of preparation. It says, not punishment, you were being rewired so that you don't fall back into karmic relationships, codependency, emotional caretaking, being the one that is strong and always supportive. You see, life is like, when we look at the world and you look at pictures of the world, it's the world is in a circle. And so the world itself gives us an understanding that what I give, you give, and there's reciprocation back and forth. Giving is here, here, and it's balanced. That means that anyone that comes into my life at this point, I require them to give me something because I'm going to give something. I'm giving when I do videos. I believe in my teachings. I believe that I'm a strong teacher. And so this information can help you become that person of success that you desire. Why? Because I'm a teacher. It's not by my own right, it's by God's. If someone said, well, Kim, did you ask to be a teacher? I would say, not cognitively or consciously. They told me that I possibly signed up before I came into this world to be a teacher, but I can teach. And this is it. All different types of things. There's no limits to my teaching. All right. So what happens is you start seeing um, your value. As you value yourself, then you call people into understanding that they must value you. There's no more disrespect. There's only respect, right? And this is each individual. If we learned this, then we would have, I think, a healthier world. That people need to match your energy. That means that, again, if you give, they give. If you are happy, you're not going to keep yourself around someone that is always emotionally despondent or always depressed and down. Now, no disrespect to people that have depression, because I've suffered with depression, but that depression is about being frustrated. It's about not really being in your purpose. And that's not a clinical depression, but I can tell you that if you read a word and a scripture every day, the word of the Lord will heal you, or it will help you to maintain the emotions of depression. This is not me as a clinical psychologist. This is just me sharing my own experience, that if I'm in the word, it keeps me focused on where I'm going and not on how I feel. And that's the way that we change things. So bringing emotional clarity, these people that you're surrounding yourself, they're no longer chaotic individuals, but they're individuals who understand what structure is about. And families have to be structured. The Bible gives us structure, and I'm a Christian. I just do things a little bit different. You know, I believe in my inner spirit guiding me, and I have been in church, but I didn't make the church my God, because I know that God lives within us. And my soul was calling me to find that understanding. So I want to help those that have that type of calling or that kind of desire. And if you are someone that has an understanding that your soul is required, beloved, I would that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. So even, there's a comma there in the Bible, even as your soul prospers. Your soul cannot prosper unless there is a healing that takes place to things before and what you came here to take care of and heal, like generational curses. If you're someone that was called to heal the generations, then you're going to go through cycles of maybe family, marriage, work, all at the same time that needs to be healed, because there could have been family challenges, mental illness, there could have been poverty, and all of this, you got to work through it. And, you know, for someone to tell in detail what this looks like, it means that I've been through it. You got people that have been in cycles of abuse physically, mentally, and spiritually. They are blaming people for what they're going through, but they're not looking at the lesson. And the lesson is where you progress and prosper. Because if you can teach somebody else about being in abuse and how to notice the red flags, and also how to not fall into the trap, then what happens is that you are someone that's counseling, or let me say coaching. You're able to coach. You can turn your lemons into lemonade there. And so this is what the soul path is all about. It's like, how can you make something out of nothing? Because anyone that was abused or that lived in poverty, they can change the dynamics, but they got to understand that there's a dynamic, that the family was doing poverty and they didn't see the way, but you might have been the one that was called to see the way. And so your soul is calling you into position. This is not for everyone. This is for those that actually are looking at changing their lives. What have you been walking through? What is it that keeps you from becoming what you want to be? And generally, it's here, the mind. It's the state of mind. In order to change the state of mind, the consciousness must change. That means that you got to go deep, and you have to begin to rewire and reprogram your mindset. If it looks like you have no money, you see money in your mind. Just like I often tell the story about Jeremiah in the first chapter, and how God is teaching him how to actually see in his mind's eye. If you go there, you will see what I'm saying. And so God is teaching him that, because that's where the power is. This is the power for him to be able to tell and prophesy what's happening according to the wars. He was a little boy, right? And so why did he have to do that? Because he was a part of leadership, and he was chosen to do the work for God in that era and time. So you are meant not to survive, but to have the season of receiving devotion, care, tenderness, partnerships, affection, consistency. You're meant to be cherished. These are things you have to think about. Your worth is not up for debate. You got to stand in your worth and know that, okay, if this woman is coming on and talking to me about my soul, where do I begin? If I didn't think about all of these things, I must think about them now, because you came here for a purpose. The world and the earth is a school. You know, a lot of people, they're functioning daily off of, I got to go do this, I got to go do that. But is this gotta what you were called to do? Does it line up with your assignment? Did you know you had an assignment or a purpose? Do you know it? And if you don't, then you email me. Go to Warner's Human Service on Google. I even have my Psychology Today information up, and you can make an appointment, because this is where your life changes. You know, life doesn't change just because we say, oh, I just want to change. And I hear that, and I've said it. What happens is I had to actively play a part in my change, and anyone else that is getting change in their life have to be actively participating with life. And so what we don't understand is that everyday life is an energy that's flowing through us, and it says, okay, this is a day that the Lord has made, or this is the day you have the opportunity to make the change. What are you going to do? And you're saying, well, or we're saying, oh, well, I'm waiting on you, Lord. No, you don't have to wait on me. What you do is pray, and then allow me to guide you and trust you. Trust me. Okay. So at the end of the day, the soul level, one thing I want you to remember is when you were a child, your assignment was upon you when you came into the earth. And so if you hadn't been participating in the assignment to clear up negative karma in your life in some way or another, and what you were called to clear up, like if you're a person that keeps going to jail, that's something you got to break a cycle with. If you're someone that's battling with sickness, then you want to sit in the space of understanding you're possibly a healer, because healers experience sickness before the healing anointing actually shows up. There can be parts and times when you were praying and healing flows, but your self-healing is what's going to take place in most cases first. And so that's where we are. So you begin with clearing the karma of old. I think it was Patti LaBelle. She's the one that outlived all of her sisters with a disease. I don't even want to speak it, but she outlived it because she had some type of practice, I believe, and it was because she knew it was something with the generations. So there is a soul level commitment that she had, that she did not want to carry on that disease. All right, so you guys be blessed. Any questions or comments, put them in. Don't send no mess. I don't like messy. Why? Because we're evolution. We're in the evolution time. And so what we're going to do is evolve, and messy people, they can't be a part. All right. Blessings.